Saraswati Vicharani Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashtatvidashtarani Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama. Welcome everybody.
Recording in progress.
Today we will cover the governance in Ayodhya. Last 2 days we discussed the history of Ayodhya from the Shastra's perspective and the medieval time and the present. Yesterday we discussed the integration between Sitaram and Jai Sri Ram. There is no conflict between the two. And today we will understand the governance. One of the core principles of Valmiki's Ramayana when it comes to discussing about Raghukula, no conflict between the two, or Sri Ramchandra specifically, we will understand. We see it's a sangarsh, it's not exactly a conflict, but it is a sangarsha between affection and efficiency. It's a sangarsha between nyaya and prema. It's a sangarsha between collective and individual. And therefore, more than any other character, those who are very close to Lord Ram, his own family members, they suffer, but they have the capacity to suffer because they believe in something beyond their feelings. Right? When Lord Ramachandra was going to the forest, was it ordered by Dashrath Maharaj to send his son to the forest? He didn't want him to go. But the law required that Ram has to be sent to the forest. Because there was a pratigya. The words were given to Kaikai. Everyone was affected by that. But Sri Ramachandra executed that. Nyaya. Right? Similarly, when he was going, Dashrath Maharaj was extremely upset. He told Lord Ram that you please imprison me. You put me in jail, but you don't go to the forest. Dashrath Maharaj could not cancel the order, but he was expecting Ram to imprison him so that Ram stays in the kingdom and takes over as the king. It was not be possible for him. So this sangarshas is extremely important to Valmiki's Ayodhya. And therefore, what do we see in Ramayana? We see justice, nyaya. And nyaya has 5 components which Ramachandra followed regularly. The first is whenever anything would come to him, it has to have a definition, which is called as Vyakhya. Right? Whatever it comes, complete Vyakhya or definition has to be there. And the second component of this is exception, apavad. Right? Lord Ramachandra's justice system was, he was not eager to punish. He was eager to empower. Even to Ravan, when he had performed the heinous of the crime, kidnapping somebody else's wife, now, yes, he was supposed to be punished for that. But Sri Ram was giving a chance to Ravan again and again, hoping that he will change. Right? And therefore the poets, they say, in the battle of Ram and Ravan, Ravan defeated Ram because he was persistent. He was stubborn. He would not want to change, even though Ram was giving him the opportunity. Therefore, apavada. Apavada means exception to the rule. Third is explanation, khulasa or vishleshan. Right? The first is definition, second is exception, third is explanation. You can't just make a law. When Lord Ramachandra spoke to Bharat in Chitrakoot, Chitrakoot is generally known for Ram Bharat Milap, where the stones also melted. The boulders were completely melted. If you go there, there is a place, right? One of the most profound experience that everybody knows. But before Lord Ram and Bharat discussed about the separation of their father, they discussed governance. And Sri Ram made very clear to Bharat, he said, you can never punish anyone saying that you cannot punish unless there is a complete proof. The judgment has to come faster, but not hastily. There has to be clear understanding that the person has committed a crime. If you punish someone who is not a criminal, what do? You cause pain to him. Again, this is there in the Manu Samhita, this is there in the Mahabharata, this is there in the common sense. When you make somebody cry, you make them helpless, their very tears become the curse for you and you drown into the tears. It may not happen within our own visible reality, but the reaction has to come. Therefore, explanation, khulasa, vishleshan has to be there. That is the system of nyaya. And fourth is illustration, that is udarana. There has to be an explanation, there has to be a connection. Right? One time, is there in the Uttar Ramayana, when somebody came to Sri Ramachandra when he was ruling, and that somebody was a dog. And this dog was mistreated by one Mathadish, right, head of a monastery. And when Lord Ram studied their case, he realized it was a mistake made by this person, and the Mathadish was supposed to be punished. And Lord Ram asked him, what kind of punishment? Sorry, he was not a Mathadish, he was an ordinary person. He said, what kind of punishment do you want to be given to this personality? He was an ordinary person. And this dog said, hey Ram, please make him the in charge of one of the monastery. Everybody was shocked. He said, why do you say like that? He said, because at some point of time in my life also, I was head of a monastery and I mistreated people. I was angry, I was upset. And therefore, because I mistreated people, I am born as a dog and bark over people. Right? So, udharan has to be there. You cannot punish, there has to be an illustration. And fifth is, once the judgment is given, we see in this world, first of all, the judgment takes many, many years. Once the judgment comes, there is no yojana to implement. Right? That is yojana, which is application. So these were the 5 principles through which Lord Ramachandra operated in his kingdom. Kanakdas, one famous poet, a devotional poet from Karnataka, he wrote a beautiful story called as a Rama Dhanya. Rama Dhanya. The Rama Dhanya means grain. Right. So there was a conflict between rice and ragi. When the rice and ragi had a conflict, proving that who is superior. As we were discussing yesterday, even with the opening of Ram temple, yes, there are some political parties. They are indirectly giving praise to one party. Oh, it is BJP's installation. But it is such a stupid idea that it is an insult to the entire legacy of the Sanatan Dharma followers. Reclaiming Ram temple was not the movement of RSS or BJP. It started since the day when the temple was broken by the followers of Babur, the Islamic radicalization. Since then, right, whoever took part in that legacy, they will certainly get the credit, right? So therefore, making it claim, no, no, these people are taking. So some people having an outburst, right? So therefore, whenever such outburst happens, and why does this outburst happens? This outburst happens because who has to take the credit? लड़ने में कम लोग आते हैं, लेकिन क्रेडिट लेने में बहुत लोग आ जाते हैं. So that is there since the beginning of the human existence. It happened in front of Lord Ram also. And what beautifully Ram solved his problem. There was a conflict between rice and the ragi, proving that who is superior. And Ram said, to understand who is superior, I need to study. He told, place ragi and rice in a different part of a place and close them, not imprisoning them, close them to study. It takes some time to understand the quality of ragi. It takes some time to understand the quality of rice. After 3-4 months, when they opened, the rice had some kind of fungus coming. Right, you must have seen those threads. But the ragi was untouched. It was clean and pure. Right, and therefore, if you study carefully, the over-utility of rice has increased the problem of diabetic cases. In many parts of Bharat, people used to consume ragi. The great Purandar Das wrote a beautiful song also, Ragi Tandira, Bhikshake Ragi Tandira. Right, so when Ram gave that verdict saying that ragi is the highest of all the grains. He is the king of all the grains. Ragi सारे धान्यों में राजा है करके राम ने घोषित कर दिया. एक Kanakdas is written 500 years ago. He had nothing to do with this, this Navadhanya, millet ka revolution. He just wrote like that because he was speaking the truth. But the point he said, if ragi has to be coronated, then you need rice, akshata. Many people must have received this akshata, which is coming from the Ayodhya temple. Akshata means inexhaustible. During the marriage ceremony, one of the most important part of the marriage ceremony, which people don't recollect, the rice grains, which is turned into akshata. When the family members, friends, relatives, when they not exactly throwing डालना, वो पति और पत्नी के ऊपर, what do? They just throw it like a blessing, saying that let your affection, let your happiness, let your stability be as inexhaustible as this akshata. Aksha means without any breakage. So to become king, ragi had to have rice on its head. That is the beauty of Ram's judgment. Those who are against him and those who are for him, they will get appropriate benefit. It is not samatavad. It is not that everybody is equal. Everybody has equal appropriate appreciation based upon their contribution. The result may differ, but the impact of appreciation will not change. Everybody will be satisfied. Now, when we study, where does it come from? Again, it comes from your background, your surrounding, your soil, your matti. Other day we were discussing with some devotee friends that what is more deeper. Yes, Shraddha, our Shraddha is there, but more deeper than Shraddha is your upbringing, your racial reality. You can't avoid the race. You should not misuse the racial identity. But you can't avoid. If you're a black, you're a black. If you're a white, you're a white. You're a brown, you're a brown. You're a British, you're a British. Right? That cannot be taken away from you. Right? So certain upbringing are so deeply rooted in your system. You identify not to be arrogant. You identify so that you be responsible. In the Bhagavad Gita, very second chapter, in the beginning of the second chapter, Sri Krishna told Arjuna, he said, you are not this body. Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkada. Hey Arjun, you are not this body, you are the spirit soul. But the next verse, immediately, just see apparent contradiction. 2.30 says that you are not this body or spirit soul. And 2.14 Krishna is telling Arjuna, Matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha agama apayuno nityastam titikshasva bharata. Kaunteya and Bharata, Sri Krishna recognizes Arjuna through his identity of being a Bharata and a Kaunteya. So why Krishna is a hypocrite in this? Here he's saying you are not this body and immediately speaking, identifying. And if you read Prabhupada's explanation purport, he says the great birth gives rise to greater responsibility. So therefore the Ayodhya, the kings of Ayodhya, they came with certain values that was deeply rooted in their systems. That does not mean there were bad kings. One of the king, Trishanku, if you study his story, he was a great embarrassment for the Raghukula, but Raghukula itself did not become an embarrassment. Right? He was an embarrassment to Raghukula. They rectified. They proved their credibility. Like we were discussing yesterday, whether it is Sagar Maharaj, whether it is Bhagirath Maharaj, right? Whether it is Ikshwaku, whether it is Aja, whether it is Raghu, whether it is Dashrath Maharaj. What a legacy they had. And what was their legacy? Valmiki Maharshi explains, Tyagaya Samritarthanam, Satyayamita Bhashinam, that Artha Sanchaya, that the Raghukula people, their core principle was sacrifice. But Tyagaya Samritarthanam. And therefore they would earn wealth. देखो कितना सुंदर है. If you have a good heart, it is good for you. People feel good about you. Oh, he's such a nice person. But the good heart does not change people's life. The good heart should also have a resources to provide to others. So the Raghukula people, they had a good heart, but they also work very hard to do Artha Sanchaya. और अर्थ संचय किसके लिए? To give and share. Narad Muni has explained this. In the Ramayana we see that Lord Ramachandra asked Bharat, hey my dear Bharat, are you appropriately at the right time engaging in dharma, engaging in artha, engaging in kama? आपको युक्त आहार, युक्त विहार, युक्त चेष्टा कर रहे हो क्या? Right recreation, right work, right sleep, right wakefulness. The Dharma Shastras do not at all reject even enjoyment. That is a inherent quality of the living entity. But only enjoyment, that becomes obsessive. And it also speaks that less talking. The Raghukula people, they spoke Mita Bhashi, Alpa Bhashi. Purvabhashi. Why less talking? Because when you talk less, then you don't have to work hard to be truthful. जितना कम बोलोगे उतना आप सत्य ही बोलोगे, because in those times there was no political rally. Lord Ram did not conduct a political rally, because when you conduct a political rally, when the spirits are very high, the politician promise something they can never fulfill. Are they lying? Yes, they are lying, but where does the lie come from? Lie comes from the powerful, the spirit. I remember I've told this story that somebody in one occasion, they had gone for some seva, and the number of people who came there, I was registering. 1, 2, 3. My job was to register. And some people, when they met their guru, they talked about their first experience of helping others, and suddenly one of the persons said 2,000 people we actually helped them. From 200 to 2,000. I was shocked. It took some year for me to understand that numbers are basically a fact reality. But enthusiasm goes beyond fact, and 200 का 2000 बन जाता है. So therefore, the Ayodhya kings were alpabhashi, so that they didn't have to give promise which was not at all unrealistic to implement. And then it is also explained the kings of Ayodhya or even the queens of Ayodhya. Valmiki Raman explains in Ayodhya there were no widows. The question is raised, how can it be? Dasharath Maharaj's very wives became widows. Yes, from a technical perspective, they are widows, but they were called as tapasvis. They were self-sufficient. Right? They lived the life of the sadhvis, जहां उत्तरदायित्व का स्वतंत्र का जीवन जीते थे. But on the other hand, the culture of Ravana, the civilization of Lanka, right? When Ravana spoke to Sita Devi, he said, where is the question of you going back? Nobody can come here. Nobody can penetrate this place. देखो, जहां विश्वास है ना, वहां बॉर्डर नहीं होता. Right? There is a great faith. Nobody can break this. I think I have told one of the retired army person, he was telling me, one of the characteristics of the Bharatiya soldier is that we fight not for the land alone. We fight for maintaining our culture of Atiti Devo Bhava. We want people to come to our place, but we don't want those kind of people who destroy our faith in Atiti Devo Bhava. ये केवल लैंड के लिए लड़ाई नहीं है. He said ours is a dharmic kingdom. He said a nationalism without dharma become extremely radical and dangerous. And Europe has this problem. There is a radical nationalism. But Bharat doesn't have that problem. The Rashtriyata, like recently somebody asked one saintly person in regards to, this Ram temple only. What is more important, Ram bade या राष्ट्र बड़े? तो उन्होंने कहा राष्ट्र बड़ा. Everybody was shocked. इतने बड़े संत पुरुष है, वो कह रहे राष्ट्र बड़ा है. Then he said, इसी राष्ट्र में राम है, इसी राष्ट्र में कृष्ण है, इसी राष्ट्र में गंगा है, इसी राष्ट्र में यमुना है. Right? इसलिए this राष्ट्र, this भारत, भारत तो भूमि लो होइलो मनुष्य जन्म. He said those who have taken birth in this land have to make their life perfect. Why? Because in the lap of this Bharat Bhumi, when Lord Ramachandra was going to Vanvas, what did he pray? He prayed to Ayodhya, hey Mate Ayodhya. He said, I am taking leave. I want to come back as early as possible. When Arjuna was going to the heavenly planet, same thing, he actually circumambulating his own place, remembering his motherland, right? It is not physical, it is a cultural, it is not radical, it is a substantial. So therefore, that is Ayodhya. But in Lanka, what was the rule? The goal was, which Ravana is telling Mother Sita Devi. He said, what the hell are you doing? You are basically wasting your youth. You have a youthful body, and it is no way that Ram can come here. It is impossible to penetrate this place. Because why you cannot penetrate? Because wherever there is fear, wherever there is doubt, wherever there is a feeling of others will come, you spend millions and millions of rupees to protect your borders. Right? And therefore, Ravana's border was unpenetrable because it was built with looted money. There was no industry. There were no natural setting. Many things were made artificial. Even that was very natural, Ashoka Vatika. It was one of the most painful place for Mother Sita to stay. इसलिए हमारे हनुमान जी ने उसको तहस नहस कर दिया, destroy कर दिया, right? Because that caused so much of pain to Mother Sita. So Ravan is telling, पीबो, शराब पियो, विहार, ऐसे मजा करो, घूमो, रमस्व, enjoy, भुंक्ष्य, अच्छा से खाओ भर भर के, Bhogan, have limitless sense gratification. He said, I will give everything, Sita. Ask whatever you want. I am willing to buy you out. So Ravana's principle was buying it out. And unfortunately, he made friendship with Vali. Vali and Ravan, one of the founder president of this movement, one of the movement which became responsible for building the Ram temple, Sri Vishweshwatirtha Shripad, the great Pejar Swami, right? He was listening to one very great scholar on Ramayana only, and he was amused to hear this. He has read Ramayana so many times, but he never contemplated on this aspect because he never thought, ऐसा कभी मन में भी नहीं आया. Is there in the Uttar Ramayana? There was a friendship between Vali and Ravan, and they actually had a proper samskaras to keep that promise intact. And Valmiki Maharshi, imagine such a refined sage for him to write this, but he writes it, Dara Putran Puram Rashtra Bhogachadan Bhojanam Sarvemeva Vibhaktam. Now I'll tell you, Daraha, wife, Putram means children, Puram means city, Rashtram means the kingdom, and then what is it? For our pleasure, we should be willing to exchange them. Swapping, right? They are not only talking swapping the family. Valmiki Maharshi is so refined, he'll not get into the details, but he explains through shloka. They are willing to sell their country also. It's not about Lanka, it's about Ravan. It's not about Bharat, it's about the family, right? The simple distinction between Dhritarashtra and Pandava is that Dhritarashtra says, Bharat belongs to me. And Pandava say, we belong to Bharat. Agar ye chetana ho, if that is the consciousness, you can imagine the difference between the two administration. For Ravan, that Lanka belonged to him. And for Raghukula, they belong to Ayodhya. अयोध्या के सुरक्षा के लिए हम कुछ भी करने के लिए तैयार है। रावण कहेगा मेरे सुरक्षा के लिए मेरे राष्ट्र को भी मैं भेज दूंगा। These are eternal principles, unchangeable, ever existing. Sarvameva vibhaktam. There is no distinction between yours and mine. ऐसा लगता ना कि वसुदैव कुटुंबकम. No, it is a perversion of everything belongs to everybody in regards to enjoying. So therefore, our Lord Ramachandra, he practiced this principle exactly opposite. Yajasva, Yajasva, Tapasya, Dana. These were the core principle of Ayodhya Vasi, and therefore Lord Ram made this great proclamation कि मेरा धर्म ही है दूसरों की रक्षा करना. ये मेरा जीवन ही है दूसरों के लिए समर्पित हुआ है. I have dedicated my life for the cause of others. Now, for dedicating the cause of others, what you have to do? You have to have resources. And that's what he tells our great Bharat. As I said, those who have read Valmiki's Ramayana, when you come to the part of Bharat and Ram Milap, discussing about Ram should take over the kingdom and the separation from the father, it's a very, very profound, absorbing, painful. It brings tears in your eyes. But just before that, read that part, the part of governance. You'll be amused. You'll be shocked. The idea, the values what Lord Ramachandra gives, they're not necessarily only idealistic, poetic. They're extremely relevant. They're pragmatic. They're powerful. They're eternal. And whoever follows them, in the long run, they are going to become the most successful people also. Right? And what does Lord Ram begin with? Lord Ram asked Bharat, he said, do you have a minister who basically has the power to explain you Artha Shastra properly? Right? To such an extent, Lord Ram told Bharat, Ratri ke tisre pahar mein, right, there are 4 praharas, Purvana and Ratri. There are Pradosh, Nishit, Triyam and Usha. These are the 4 in the night time. On the 3rd prahar, which is quite early, what you are supposed to discuss? Lord Ram is telling Bharat, and Chanakya in fact reproduces that. He said, are you discussing the finances of the country? And Chanakya goes one step further, makes it more explicit. He said the king should get up, take his bath, and first he should sit with the ministers, discuss the political issue, discuss the financial issue. Once that is done, then he should call the Purohita and a medical doctor. Purohit will give him certain ideas. And that very Chanakya, very interestingly, for an individual people, he does not encourage. For the king, he encouraged that he should approach the astrologer. 10-15 minutes har roj. Right? He discussed about Artha Shastra, he discussed about his health, he discussed about the charity. Now then he sits for his spiritual meditation because he has already done all this thing. All the pending work has been basically categorized properly. And now when they sit for meditation, he would completely be absorbed in meditation because he knows what to do. So Lord Ram spoke this to Bharat. And then Lord Ram explained that if you punish people wrongly, that will give rise to anger among the people. And we see that whenever justice, if it is not, if it is not based on the laws, unfortunately what happens, the justice are based upon people, gender centric, community centric, caste centric, color centric. right? The area centric. ये न्याय नहीं है. न्याय के नाम पे बड़ा अन्याय है, because you cannot say all men are good, you cannot say all women are good, right? Generally, yes, there are a lot of women who get abused by the men, but you give the justice based upon the system. Okay, she has been abused, there has to be justice, faster justice, right? So Lord Ram explained this to Bharat. Cruel punishment doesn't matter who it is. If it is not judicious, that will give rise to greater anger. And then another topic Lord Ram discussed. Very interesting. It makes everybody happy. Lord Ramachandra said, he said, when you tax people, कर अपने प्रजा से इस प्रकार से लो, उनको कष्ट नहीं होना चाहिए. It should not hurt them. It should not cause pain to them. It should not cause anxiety to them. If you study statistically how many people give tax in India, the number of people who give tax is very less. The number of people who evade tax is very large. Even those who give, they also evade. Are they wrong? Legally, they may be wrong. From the constitutional perspective, they may be wrong. But there are large number of people, they know that we want to give, but it will be misused. And it is unreasonable. If they follow the systems of Ramayana, you will generate more income to the state with a less pain to the people. And then Lord Ramachandra spoke even the concept of giving salary on the time. It doesn't matter how much affectionate they are to you, right? Your family member, your employees, they may love you more than their life because you are being very judicious. The love for the cricketers and the film actors and the film personalities is that everyone who loves them, they want to enjoy them. They are the object of their entertainment, right? The people who enjoy out of this famous people, they don't mind spending their money. But if they do not entertain them as much they are supposed to entertainment, what happens? They are willing to burn down their house also. 1971, Ajit Wadekar won the some series in England. He was like glorified like anything. But next time when he lost, the same people were putting chappal har into his neck. So imagine that is the level of extreme degree of emotion exhibited by people. So Sri Ramachandra tells Bharat, he says, when you do not give the remuneration on time, समय पर नहीं दोगे तो क्या होगा? They will be unhappy, they'll be upset, they will curse you, they'll be angry with you, their efficiency will come down. Just see how Valmiki Ramayana, Lord Ramachandra is so realistic and pragmatic. If you invest rightly, recently somebody wrote an article about why India still has to work in regards to increasing the tourism. Yeah, I may have my own opinion about why there should not be increase of tourism, especially in the places of the spiritual area, unless there are restrictions. Like even in Vatican, if you go, right? I've not been, went to Italy, but did not go there. If you go there, they have a rule in Europe also. You have to be properly covered. Even though they presented the whole culture of different kinds of fashion, right? But if you go there, there is absolutely no compromise in regards to what kind of clothes you wear, right? In Bharat, we don't see that. Recently, somebody went to Banaras. Beyond 3-4 kilometers, there are some good hotels right on the bank of Ganga. They may not promote, they don't serve liquor, they don't serve meat. So somebody visited, they were saying, but still people, some other, they sneak inside, some drink and some meat. Are you eat your meat, you drink your liquor. But if you cannot even manage 3 days restraint, even the ordinary village people, they're not ordinary, the people of wisdom, even the meat eaters, they knew that these 4 days we cannot eat, and they would very naturally restrain from it. And here people have come for beautiful place of Kashi, the greatest of all the holy places. Right? Still the craving to drink, the craving to eat flesh, and they basically smuggle it inside. Not fair, not right. Right? Lord Shiva will not send you to hell, but you're already playing such a bad card. So that was not correct. So what Lord Ram is saying, that if there is injustice, delay, even the most dearest people to you, they will become upset and angry. And then Lord Ram speaks very interesting. He said, when you're appointing a big minister, an ambassador, he said, first qualification for an ambassador, he should be born local. वो इसी देश का होना चाहिए. वो कितना भी अच्छा आपके संस्कृति के प्रति he keeps affection, that is good. You know, a spiritual affection for a Sanskriti is different. Marrying somebody from one country is different. But to develop that affection for the land where you are born does not happen very easily. I'm not saying is, Lord Ram is saying is that. He said he should be local born and also qualified, both. And then Lord Ram makes an again interesting principle. He says, Bharat, I hope you don't have a Nastik in your kingdom. Now, Nastik in the Sanatan Dharma is different from not believing in God. You know, we will do sometime a comparative study of religion. The word non-believer in the Western European world is specifically connected to Christianity. When you say, I don't believe in God, that means you don't believe in Jesus. Then you're called as a Nastik. But in Sanatan Dharma, you can not believe in God, but you can still follow the Vedas. You practice some Vedic principle because Vedas are filled with common sense, profound wisdom. And people without the Vedas, if they're part of your kingdom, what will happen? They'll make laws which are extremely unfriendly for the people to grow from every perspective. You know, the leftist ideology, the liberal ideology, woke ideology. What is their core principle when they give the narrative? Their narrative is that destroy the family tradition. And in the name of what? They destroy the family tradition. And while destroying the family tradition, they create such a rigid authoritarianism. You know, hardcore authoritarianism. The more liberal countries, so-called liberal countries, one school teacher told, you know, the liberal America has placed more people in the jail compared to the Chinese, communist China. You know, one is a frying pan, one is the fire, right? It's not that better, but just the number. There are more people in the American prison. It's a very interesting principle. So Lord Ramachandra, he is saying, you know, when you make a Nastic person a leader, he become very autocratic. But a Dharmic person, fortunately, he has the power to empower people. He does not fear people growing. He says, let them grow, let them grow. And therefore, in India, when you say, there is so many kingdom, itna rajya ki avashyakta kya thi? Now, very interesting, when the kingdom is so big and powerful, the king becomes dictatorial. The freedom of the people is taken away. If I don't like this kingdom, I can take lock, stock and barrel, go to another place also because I don't like this ideology. वैसा था, इसलिए छोटे 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 राज हुआ करते थे. So the small kingdom had the greater cultural component, a diverse cultural component. The diverse kingdom had a greater freedom. The diverse kingdom allowed the kings to be very dynamic because they knew my citizen can go to other places also. So there was a cultural nationalism, but the political nationalism or Rajya were very small. The 549, the division of different king. Originally, their idea, if you study Mahabharata, it was like that only. But there was a Chakravarti also. There was also collective kingdom, which was run by Yudhishthir Maharaj. And therefore, these Nastic people, what do? They destroy your empowerment and they destroy also the culture of respect. He said, don't give them closer. And he said, it is most important for the king to have friendship with the farmers and the traders. जो राजा किसान और व्यवहार करने वाला. Therefore, the traders also need to have friendship with the king, and the king also have to have friendship with the traders. Because if the traders and the Vaishyas and the farmers are not empowered by the king, then what will they produce? And then Ram becomes very, he talks about the family also. Do you keep your women happy? And then Lord Ram makes another this is all in the Valmiki Ramayana. If you open it, you'll see. Lord Ram says, do you become satisfied with your resources? So that's a question mark. He's afraid that Bharat will be satisfied. And what are the resources in those times? The biggest resources are horses and elephant. So Bhagwan Ram is saying, are you satisfied with your horses and elephant? He said, no, you have to expand. You have to expand the number of them. And again, Chanakya, taking clue from this and Mahabharata, he explains संतुष्ट राजा नष्ट हो जाता है और असंतुष्ट ब्राह्मण नष्ट हो जाता है. Just see, apparent contradiction but profound integration. The king can never be satisfied and the brahmana should never be dissatisfied. समाधानी राजा देश के लिए बेकार है because he has to keep on increasing the prosperity. This is the word of Lord Ram. Another interesting point Lord Ram said, he never said walk like a Gandhi as a king. फटे कपड़े पहन के हाथ में लकड़ी लेके फकीर बन के, वो साधु का काम है. Lord Ram is telling Bharat, my dear Bharat, when you get up in the morning, do you decorate very nicely? Do you go around the kingdom, showing yourself to your praja, so that when they see a king who is very pleasing, they become very happy. Imagine, sometimes people say, Ram to bahut zyada adarsh hai. अरे उनके आदर्श में व्यवहार है. There is व्यवहार in his आदर्श. And Krishna बहुत brutal practical है. नहीं, उनके practicality में आदर्श है. They are non-different from each other. They only act according to who they have to play with, right? And then Lord Ram said, when there is a legal battle between poor and the rich, he said, do your people take bribe from the rich and give wrong judgment? देखो ये राम राज्य है. And then Lord Ram explained one of the most profound, there are hundreds of verses. Lord Ram asked Bharat a profound concept. He said, I always say this, क्या धर्म से अर्थ का नाश तो नहीं होता ना? He said, Dharma should not destroy Artha. And he said, Artha should not destroy Dharma. If you're able to manage earning wealth without destroying Dharma, growing in Dharma without destroying the Artha, then your kingdom will flourish like anything. And therefore, the same clue is there in the Bhagavad Gita conclusion also. Yatra Yogeshwaro Krishna, Yatra Partha Tanurdhara. Tatra Sri Vijay Dhruti Matirmama Krishna is not only talking about morality. There will be morality. There will be victory. And victory is not at the cost of loss. He said there has to be victory. Victory which is actually increasing your prosperity. नीति भी होनी चाहिए, जीत भी होनी चाहिए, और स्थिति भी होनी चाहिए, और संपत्ति भी होनी चाहिए. He said that will happen when there is Krishna and Arjun together. Therefore, when Dharma and Artha are integrated, that was Ayodhya. Therefore, in Ayodhya, there was free education. Yashoda, Kaushalya herself, whatever money she got from her husband, who was not giving her time, he would give her the resources. She had hundreds of students. Read the Valmiki Ramayana. Hundreds of students she sponsored for their education. विद्या से बढ़कर और कौन सा भी दान नहीं हो सकता, because the vidya has the power to empower people. But if that vidya is given by the liberal charity, that vidya is given by the oak people in charity, what do you create? You create people with disruptive mentality. But if the dharmic people, dharmic means who are very pragmatic, they are not rigid, they are not loose. They are coherent. One of the greatest quality of Lord Ram, which we fear to discuss. Ram is Eka Patni Vrata. But understanding the culture of Sugriv, understanding culture of Kishkinda, Lord Ramachandra did not object Sugriv marrying his brother's wife. First of all, she was a widow. He married her. Secondly, she was a brother's wife. He married her. How is it possible? Is it right? Dharmically, it is right. It is there in the Valmiki Ramayana. It is there because Lord Ram knew in Kishkinda, where these Vanaras were residing, they would actually attack on single women. एक स्त्री है, उस पे शोषण करते थे. So it was a better for them, a single woman, whether widow or unmarried, to be married and to be in the same place. So Lord Ram had the great connectivity with his own culture and the culture of Kishkinda also. Right? And then Lord Ram explained to Bharat of enjoying Dharma, Artha, Kama appropriately. And after giving all this knowledge, and in between, in so many places, you will find the governance principle of Lord Ramachandra. So studying that psychology about Ayodhya, minimizing the impact of Lanka, minimizing the impact of Kishkinda, maximizing the impact of Ayodhya, what does it do? It is not simply good behavior, but it is the legacy of prosperity. It's a legacy of growth. It's a legacy of stability. And then Lord Ram then discusses about why has he come here. And then the separation from his father is discussed. And the tears from his eyes, and then the beautiful discussion between Bharat and Ram. And eventually Bharat realized that it is not possible to defeat Ram. And then what does he do? He says, I will rule on your behalf. And I will only stay for 14 years. And after the 14th year, if you are not there in the next moment, I will do Prayopavesh. I'll give up my body. I'll conclude with this. The Ram-Ravan battle is over. Ravana is killed. Vibhishan is supposed to be coronated. Lord Ram had done his coronation before only. But still official coronation has to happen. That time Lord Ramachandra said, my dear Vibhishan, I cannot stay even 1 moment extra here. Because if I spend 1 moment extra, my Bharat, he is waiting for me. Lord Rama has such a confidence in Bharat. He said he will not be there. I need to go. Right? That's what he told Vibhishan. and everything happened. The Sita's Agni Pariksha, it also has a connection to governance only, because he was doing that for the sake of the citizens. And when Ram was coming back to Ayodhya to double check, he sends Hanumanji to Ayodhya, and he tell Bharat that Ram is coming back along with Lakshman and Sita, and see his body language. So Ram, if he saw even slightest attachment in Bharat to continue to rule, Lord Ram would not go there, because Bharat was anyway ruling properly. It doesn't matter whether Bharat rules or Lord Ram rules. That is Ram's mentality. Here he's telling to Vibhishan that I can't stay even one moment. But as a king, as a person who does double check, knowing very well the qualification of Bharat, if he wanted to rule, Ram would go back to the forest. And our Bharat also knew about this. When Hanumanji comes to see, Bharat realizes isko abhi वापिस नहीं भेजना है. I don't want to send him back to Lord Ram. I don't know what kind of message he will give, because Bharat had not met Hanumanji. Right. So then he said, no, don't go, stay here and continue to tell me the stories of Lord Ramachandra. What happened? And Hanumanji, first time he became inefficient for the right reason. He was glorifying our great Lord Ramachandra, and meanwhile the Pushpak Viman, as it was coming, Lord Ramachandra showed Mother Sita the places where she had not taken her. Kishkinda Kshetra Mother Sita had not seen. And as he was showing the beautiful mountains of Kishkinda Kshetra, Mother Sita said, I want to go down, come down here. He said, my dear Lord, all the Kapis' wives, their commitment, their sacrifice, their dedication is so great. They deserve to be in this plane for your coronation. The plane landed, emergency landed, took all the Kapi families in that very plane, and they came back to Ayodhya to be welcoming Lord Ramachandra along with Sita. As I said on the very first day, Yogi Adityanath ji mentioned one of the painful, it's the most pleasurable moment, because Ram Lalla is coming, the temple is coming, but ek kami hai, yahan Sita Maiya nahi. Therefore, in that very place, those who are visiting, they certainly welcome Lord Ram. But Lord Ram is complete, but he's complete with Sita. Jai Sri Ram, Jai Sita Ram. Thank you very much for your kind attention for last 3 days, discussing the glories of Ramayana and Lord Ramachandra. Any questions or comments?
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Truly, Ramayana explains us the art of living, loving, and leaving. We encourage you to please ask your questions by putting them in the chat box on YouTube or on Zoom. There is a question which says, why many spiritual organizations don't support the Bhumi movement of Ram Bhaktas?
No, everybody is supporting, some are not supporting. We have wrote an article, it will be released today or tomorrow. Naturally, that's human limitations. Even the good people, sometimes they have that's part of life. When Lord Ram was being coronated, some people did not support. Right? They created a conspiracy to such an extent, they convinced Dasharath Maharaj to chase Ram away from there. So it's part of life. Not everybody, if everybody agrees for everything, then it is extremely, either you are a dead living entity, like having no other opinion, or you are actually in the spiritual world. But even in the spiritual world, there is extreme degree of diversity, but not destructive one.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. There's a question, whose commentary on Valmiki Ramayana should we read for as it is, shloka translation and purport, just like we read Srila Prabhupada's books?
Even if you read the translation of Valmiki Maharshi's Ramayana from Gita Press, it's a very good translation, especially I've read the Hindi one. And there are many commentaries are coming. The best of the commentaries, as far as my understanding goes, is there from the Sri Vaishnavas. Govindraj's commentary is very good in the Ramayana.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, there's a question. How to believe Treta Yuga's Ayodhya and Ram Janmabhoomi still exist after 2 yugas?
The problem is not the Ram Janmabhoomi or Treta Yuga. The problem, if you study carefully, when the leftist people, they wanted to prove, they wanted to hijack. They said, how do you know this is the Ram Janmabhoomi? You're just making a noise of this is the birthplace of Ram. They said, we're not discussing about birthplace. We're discussing there was a temple 500 years ago. And for us, this is the place of birth. And जन्म के लिए हिस्टोरिकल रियलिटी की आवश्यकता नहीं होती, आस्था की आवश्यकता होती, राइट? आस्था को इतिहास की गवाही नहीं चाहिए. So therefore there was a temple. The judgment of the court has come not because specifically dealing with Rama Janmabhoomi, dealing with the temple being there, and it was raised by Babur and eventually Aurangzeb also. And of course, to add more strong evidence, many great personalities, they also proved from the Shastras only, this is more likely Ayodhya, whether the exact Janmastan this is or not. That historically, how can you try to, it's actually unscientific. What is unscientific? What requires faith, you're asking proof. And the proof is there and you're denying that. देखो कितने बड़े मूर्ख थे और हम लोग मूर्ख बन गए थे. Many people said, what is this battle? Why they are fighting like this? What difference does it make? You can build temple anywhere. No, you can build temple everywhere. But there is a specific place which is described in the Shastras, which increase the asta of the people. Right? So therefore, we don't need any history. We don't need any proof that whether Ram Janmabhoomi was the exact spot or not. But we have the history and proof for temple being there 500 years ago. And we have a faith and Shraddha is there that this is Ayodhya.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, bhakti is transcendental to the material things. So to practice governance, is it going to dilute bhakti? Is the question now.
I don't know whether if you have a better teacher than Lord Ram and Narad Muni, right? In the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna is speaking to Arjuna. I don't know what other pure bhakti you will be able to practice. Try tomorrow, if your house there is no food cooked by your family member, or the money is not brought by your husband, or the children are not going to school properly. Let it happen for 1 or 2 months and try practicing your Shuddha Bhakti. You'll fail miserably. So therefore, there is no substitute for devotional service. These things are not substitute for devotional service. They are simply support system so that if there is a life is stable with a dharmic life, then you can practice bhakti nicely. अगर आपके पास खाना नहीं है, systems नहीं है, आपके आजू बाजू में गंदगी है, गंदे लोग हैं, so it is not possible for practicing. So therefore, don't question Krishna's intelligence. Don't question Krishna's coming to this world. Krishna comes to this world according to Bhagavad Gita. According to Shukdev Goswami in the beginning of the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam also. What does Shukdev Goswami begin in the 10th canto? Because this country, this world was governed by unruly people, those who are king, but actually they were Rakshasas. To eliminate them, Sri Krishna appeared. This is Shukdev Goswami in the 10th canto. And ask Krishna himself, Yada Yadai Dharmasya Glani. What is Dharma? Dharma means basically judiciousness, integration, integrated growth. When that got destroyed, the Lord appears again and again. So therefore, the civilizational confidence and personal spiritual growth, they are not against each other. So please do not misunderstand You cannot practice your bhakti अगर आपको 2 दिन पानी नहीं मिलेगा ना, आप पानी पानी बोलोगे, नाम नहीं लोगे. You'll not be able to chant the holy name because you get good water, because you have a good salary, because your family is good, and therefore you are able to talk about pure devotional service. Right? So otherwise it is not possible for most number of people. So we'll stop.
Thank you very much. Prabhuji, can we take one question, one last question?
Yeah.
Yeah, how do we, share evidences with our friends and family about Lord Ram's birthplace being in Ayodhya from a Shastric perspective?
I said again, Shastras do talk about Ayodhya being the birthplace of Lord Ram, but specific spot, it is based upon our Shraddha. It cannot be proven. Anything which is not physical cannot be proven. Anything which is beyond the senses requires an element of Shraddha. When there is a combination between the two of Shraddha where it is required and logic where it is required, we have to say we are here in Ayodhya because since ages people believed that it was the place of Lord Ram Janma, and therefore our ancestors built the temple. And Babar and his ideology, if there are any sense of human cooperation, the most important place for the Hindus, and there you want to prove, you think God will come and stay there? There, Ayodhya, they build the mosque. Mathura, they build the mosque. Kashi, they build the mosque. And if you say you should tolerate that, that means somebody, when they forget tolerating, your brother or your sister occupies some of your place in your own land. All those who say, अरे इसको तो सहन करना चाहिए, हर एक व्यक्ति अपने भाई अपने बहन के लिए 1-4 बीघा जमीन के लिए लड़ता है, वो लड़ाई चलेगा. लेकिन सांस्कृतिक लड़ाई के लिए वो बहुत बड़े उदारशाली वो बन जाते हैं. Right? So therefore you have to talk this kind of logic.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for the wisdom you've shared with all of us. It just makes the welcoming of Ram Lalla so much more meaningful in our lives. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Kind attention. Thank you once again.